All right, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Forgotten Firsts. It's been a while since I've done this little faction of the Forgotten series. I've done a lot of variants and a lot of later printings the last few weeks, maybe even a couple of months, it feels like, since I've done an actual Forgotten First appearance video. But I still have a little bit of a different spin on it for this week as well. Hopefully you're enjoying this series as well as all the other content here on Rennavision. Let me know what you think in the comments. Please like, subscribe, hit the alert button so you don't miss anything. We continue to grow the channel. Keep telling your friends so we can keep growing a little bit more. I'm going to plan some sort of little minor giveaway for hitting 1,200 maybe sometime in the next week or so. And then, do little smaller things. I want to hit bigger milestones. I'll give away bigger giveaways as we go along. So keep telling your friends so we can get to 1,500 sooner rather than later. That all said, if you want to see what Forgotten Firsts I have for you this week, just hang on for a few seconds after the intro, and I'll be right back with this week's selections. All right, as I kind of teased there in the open, I got a little bit of a different spin this week than our normal. It's just not going to be your normal run-of-the-mill first appearances that people might have missed or not been thinking about. Because that's what I usually do when I do Forgotten First. But I felt, I don't know, I'm actually pivoting. I had a whole nother idea that I was going to do for this week. And then my wife convinced me to save it for a little bit longer. So that one, I got that tucked in my back pocket for later. And I have this other idea that I'm going with today that I had also been kicking around for a little bit. Just kind of a little spin on our Forgotten Firsts. And this week, we're going to be looking at those Forgotten First meetings. So these are those first meetups, those first team-ups that, people might just not be thinking about a lot right now for one reason or other, or they actually are. Because our first one is related to, the big news of the week, the big movie of the week. I literally just got back from seeing it this Friday afternoon. And we're talking about, Spider-Man No Way Home. And this team up of Spider-Man and Doctor Strange is maybe the first time we see them team up a movie, but it's not the first time they've ever teamed up. So let's look into some of the books that they did. At least that's my thinking. So they've teamed up a number of times over the years. You can see here, there's even collected trade reprints and Marvel team-ups and Spidey annuals. We've got even more Marvel team-ups and even new versions of Marvel team-ups where we can see, Spider-Man and Doctor Strange kind of crossing each other's paths. They don't seem like a natural fit for a team-up, not like street level, like a Daredevil Spider-Man. That kind of makes a little bit of sense. The Mystic and the street level is a different twist, especially when you factor in the whole mystical nature of Doctor Strange and then the more ground level superhero that Spider-Man kind of is. So it is an odd mix, but it's one that they have gone to the well quite a few times here now in the last few years. And again, there we got even another Marvel team up. And then even as recent as this Amazing Spider-Man 51, I know a lot of people are looking at this book because it does have a really cool cover. I will admit, it does have a very cool cover there, the blacklight type cover. So I don't know. I hope everybody got one because it is pretty cool. And apparently they're getting a little bit more expensive because people are starting to look for it. But what was the first time that they actually did meet up in comic books? For that, we've got to time travel way, way, way back. We've got to go all the way back to 1965. October 1965 to be exact, for Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 2. So everybody likes the first Amazing Spider-Man annual because first Sinister 6, annual 2, we get his first team up with Doctor Strange. And thanks to Jason Shaw over at comicbookinvest.com who suggested this one. We were talking about for first meetups in our chat like, I don't know, maybe a couple of weeks ago, months ago now. So all of today's selections are recommendations from fellow comicbookinvest.com writers. So make sure you go check out and read their stuff over on the site and when you get a chance, because it's all great stuff. It's a great group of guys, and you really should be taking advantage of a free resource like comicbookinvest.com. Now, that being said, 1965 was a long, long time ago. And we can see here in the midst of the story, the story kind of takes place with Spidey kind of facing a mystical foe, and then they kind of end up crossing paths, and then we got the Amulet of Watum or something, or the Wand of Watum. I don't know if I'm saying it right. So another classic Marvel item, relic, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. Relic seems appropriate in this case. But So obviously they end up saving the day as they always do in comic books, and then they get rid of the Wand of Watum, I guess. Even though I think we do see it again, so I think Doctor Strange really gets rid of it. But I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that was the only time we saw it. I don't know. I'm not that caught up, or it's not fresh in my mind, all of my Doctor Strange knowledge yet. We still got a couple of months until Multiverse of Madness, hits the theaters, and I got to tell you. I'm pretty psyched. I'm pretty psyched to see it because, like I said, I just saw Spidey today. Great movie. I recommend you all go check it out. And if you stay all the way to the end, you get a nice little sneak peek trailer, basically, for Doctor Strange 2 at the all the way at the tail end of the credits. So make sure you sit in your seat and stay there till the very, very, very end. Don't just hop up after you see that mid-credit scene. Again, not trying to spoil anything for you. Just telling you, stick around and watch the trailer. That all said, and of course, they part on good terms, and Spidey makes a joke, and yeah, there was our first meetup. Again, all the way back in 1965. So, what does this book go for? Well, you probably guessed, being a classic book, an older book, it's not going to be a cheap book, but it's not awful. I mean, last couple of sales here, December 10th and December 9th. Yes, there was 2 bids that got one all the way up to $168.49, which is a little pricey, but again, it's a classic book, a classic story. I mean, it's over 55 years now old, so it's an old book. But look, I mean, one sold for only $59 at one bid on December 9th. So $59 really isn't that bad for a book like this. I mean, there's new variants that come out that are way more than that these days. People asking, $90 for some limited metal foil, this, that, or the other. I mean, you really want to pay $90 for a book that they just reprinted, and put some shiny gloss on it? Well, let me bring you back to the 90s, and we can get you a whole bunch more than just a single book for that kind of price. That all being said, this is just an interesting book, and hopefully you can go check it out. I mean, there's also plenty of reprints. You can find this in trades collected. It was even collected in that one trade that I showed at the beginning of the crossovers. There is a nice little graphic novel, little collection of some of those early Spidey Strange stories. So look for something like that. You just want to check it out and read it. And then you also have Marvel.com and the Comixology, and check things out online if you want. But if you do want to, go find this book, look, again, you can find one that's affordable if you really want to go looking and you're patient. Now, that said, that's our first meetup for today's video. I got 2 more. I'm not going to hit you up with a lot. We're going to keep it kind of short. It's Forgotten Friday after all, and I'm just kind of easing my way back into Forgotten first. And our next one is a classic one that I hope they really bring back. I mean, with all the other characters that they're now bringing back to the MCU. If you've watched Hawkeye, you know what I'm talking about. Or if you've seen the trailers, you already know who also pops up in Spidey from the Netflix universe corner of the Marvel Universe. I really kind of hope they bring these 2 back as well. Luke Cage and Iron Fist. Yes, I know. Iron Fist was not perfectly cast. And if they did recast him, I'd be okay with it. But he was getting better. Season 2 was going along. He was getting better, I think, personally. I think more time to train. He was a little more credible and a little bit more believable. And Michael Coulter was great as Luke Cage, and I'd be happy if they brought him back as well. Not sure if they will bring either of these 2 back, or if they do, if they'll be the same actors, but I kind of hope they do. And it would be nice to see them again, because I do like this team up, I guess you would say, and this pairing. And this is a classic pair. This is a classic duo. A dynamic duo, if you will, from the 70s. And of course, there's tons and tons of stories and books that can go back. The first time they were Power Man and Iron Fist in issue 50, and going through that run, they were a great team. Heroes for Hire was an A-list team, at least at the street level, I guess you would say. They were a very popular team. Everybody knows these 2. Granted, their books may not have always sold the best throughout the years, but they were still very well known, and they've had a couple of runs at it. You can see even this most recent, I think, run of the team up was in like 2015, 2016. Pretty cool. The Sanford Green art, and you got the hip-hop covers, not bad. And there was even Scotty Young for that issue 1, and then just great art, great fun. And that one only lasted 15 issues before it ended, but still, definitely interesting. Plenty of comics out there for you to pick up. There's like 50 plus in that first run, and like I said, another 15 there. There's a couple other volumes along the way. There's team ups, and you see them in other comics where there are still that Heroes for Hire team. So what was the first time they actually did kind of meet up and team up? Well, I know everybody loves Power Man and Iron Fist number 50 because that's the first time the title became Power Man and Iron Fist, and they, I guess, legitimately became Heroes for Hire together. That is a good book. That is a good book to have. But the first time that they actually did meet up was just a couple issues earlier in Power Man issue 48 from December 1977. So there's the first time you've seen them crossing paths. And this one, we can say thanks to Valiant for also, fellow CBSI writer. Go check out his stuff. Great information there. I can't say it enough. I write there as well. So that's why I'm going to always going to represent CBSI. That said, go check out the other guy's stuff because, again, it's great. But this one was his suggestion. We were talking about those first meetups, and I took notes, kept it aside, put it on my little spreadsheet, and plan to do it another day. That day has finally arrived. So this book, we don't need to show you the guts of this one. I mean, it's right there on the cover. You basically get it. I know everybody probably has an idea of who Power Man and Iron Fist are. So I'm not going to go show you the little interiors of how they ended up meeting up or crossing paths or anything like that. So we're just going to go right into, this could be as had for, $40 to $75. There are obviously more expensive copies, especially if you get graded copies, higher grade copies. But on an average, that's $38 on a low, one bid. And that's December 14th and December 16th. These are very recent sales. This is very recent sales information. And that's not terrible prices for the milestone, I guess you will, that this is with these two, first meeting up. That's become a very popular little niche in our collecting market where people are buying a lot of first meetups these days. They're spending a lot more money on things like Riri meeting Shuri and, Moon Girl meeting Riri and things of that nature that maybe we should also not ignore the classics that have a much stronger pair, like a much more historic pair that just had much longer run. Like, otherwise, it's just the randomness of, so-and-so met so-and-so. Like, what is the real basis for wanting and needing that? Are they going to have a book together, a movie together, a series together? Are they going to be a all-time classic pairing? Probably not. But these two already are. So maybe we should not ignore things like this. Just saying. Just don't always get distracted by the shiny new thing. Don't forget the classics because they're well worth your time. Now, that's two. We're going to roll on to one more little class. Well, this isn't really a classic team up. This is something that's more along the lines of a handing off of the torch, like a mantle being passed, mentor-mentee sort of relationship. Something we might also see coming up in a future MCU movie, which is The Marvels. And what we're going to look at here is the first time superfan number one, Kamala Khan, meets her hero, Captain Marvel. Because we know that's how it kind of started. She was like a super fan. She just loved Captain Marvel. She wanted to be Captain Marvel so much she actually kind of transformed herself into her for a little bit there with her once her powers kicked in. But what was the first time she actually met Carol Danvers? Well, considering how many first appearances Kamala has as we got introduced to her character over time, and then she got her first solo series, it was surprisingly a number of issues before they actually crossed paths for reals. But through the years since then, after that first meetup, you can see there's a couple of stories where these two have worked together. So while they're not a classic pairing of a team up, this is more like one of those generational type, like I said, mantle passing kind of a next gen hero carrying on the torch of the last. It's still something I still think is very interesting. And like I said, we're going to see them probably meet up in the Marvels movies, Captain Marvel 2, when that comes out. And I know I'm not ignoring Monica Rambeau, but we're doing, I'm just doing pairs and team ups. So we're not trying to mix into trios or anything like that at this point. But sorry, get back on track. The first time these two actually cross paths and Kamala gets to meet Carol isn't until issue 16 of her first series. 16 issues in, she finally meets Carol Danvers, and this was June of 2015. Thanks to Jack for this one. Yeah, this was his suggestion, and check out his stuff too. comicbookfest.com, the locks and long shots and mighty misconceptions and things. He's got a lot of fun stuff that he's again, we're giving you information for free, so just take a gander. It costs you nothing. Now, this particular book is it's one of those kind of tail end kind of meeting. So I don't want to even say cameo because it's not a first appearance. It's the first kind of meeting. But here at the end, see Kamala, she's going onto the roof, and then you hear her voice on the side. You know, who's talking to her? Oh, it's Carol. So it's the first time they actually cross paths. It's the next issue, which I showed you the cover of in that first little grouping, issue 17, where you got them working together. But they first just kind of meet here on this rooftop in issue 16. So now, these Ms. Marvel books have gotten a little, not super expensive. They've just gotten a little pricey. They're just getting a little bit harder to find, just like many of the new Marvel Heroes books have been. It's just even the common issues, those random run fillers, just parts of storylines, just get a, they start getting a little bit more sought after. People want to collect those runs. So all those Kate Bishop Hawkeyes, you're going to pay a couple of bucks for. They're not going to be in dollar bins anymore. The Ironheart stuff, the Shuri stuff. Like, again, all these new age Marvel heroes, their books are just getting just a little bit more expensive than some of this older stuff. But that all being said, these two cross in this issue. So what does this particular issue do? Well, it's not terrible. This is one you can still find. This you can find for 13 to 20 bucks. So like I said, it's not in a dollar bin per se. I mean, you might be able to find it in a dollar bin, but if you did go hunting out there, you might just pay a couple of bucks out of your pocket for it. But it's not something that's going to break your back or break your wallet or make you have to skip an entire week's worth of comic book new releases. Hopefully. Hopefully you can find it for a price that you can palate if you're interested in this kind of thing. I don't know. Thought it was just kind of interesting to take a little different spin on the Forgotten Firsts and do a meetup, because these meetups, some of them are pretty important and should not be forgotten about. We just be mindful of it. Be mindful of all this fun stuff. Now, hopefully you enjoy this and enjoy all the content here on the channel. Hope you appreciate the information I'm just trying to share, because that's all I'm looking to do. So I'm just trying to share information and talk about things that interest me. And hopefully it interests you guys out there watching the videos. With that all being said, I appreciate you all stopping in, checking things out, supporting the channel. I really do. You have no idea. I love hearing your comments. I love being tagged on your posts on Instagram to see the books that you guys are picking up when you have some of these books I talk about. Because I talk about a lot of books that I personally don't have. I can't afford everything. I do not have an unlimited budget. I cannot go out there and be buying big boy books like every other con. That's just not how I roll. That's just not the bankroll I have for my hobby. This is a hobby after all. I do have a mountain full of books still surrounding me. If you could see the room that I'm in, I am buried amongst comic books, but I'm a cheap comic book hunter, and I just like giving that kind of perspective, and hopefully you guys like that perspective of how I like to collect my books and how I manage to collect the books that I do manage to add to my collection. And sometimes it's a little bit of a hustle. Sometimes it's a little bit of a dig. Sometimes you got to sacrifice to get to that next book that you really, really want. But that all being said, like I said, hit me up comments. I really enjoy the discussions. I love talking comics, and hopefully you do too. So join us on Wednesdays for the live show. Hit up the chat. Greatest chat out there. Sundays as well when we start talking Star Wars. And yeah. And also when I premiere these videos during the week, I try to pick a time when more people can join, because even though these videos are all recorded, I do try to hit up all of the premieres if I can, so we can chat and talk about things there as well. So come by, check them out when they're dropping. Been shooting for like 8:30 now during the weeks for a lot of these videos. So that all being said, hopefully you enjoyed this. Like, subscribe, all the fun stuff. Keep telling friends. And yeah, I'll be back with more content for you very soon. See you guys later.